podcast. What about Joe Face Merc? I'm Face. We got Joe on the line and we got Merc on the line. What's up, y'all?
What up? What's happening, man?
Yo, what's good? What's good, fellas?
Hey, man. Just chilling out here in Hawaii, man. Today for me, man, is super laid back, man. So, how y'all feeling?
I'm gonna hit on that man from being in paradise.
You see how you gotta throw Hawaii in there like that?
I'm representing.
Take that wrap off, brother. I don't appreciate it. And we started this podcast on the wrong note already.
just remember, you're not in Montgomery, guy, so you should.
True. Like you all messed up.
Count your blessings. That's all I gotta say.
Hey,
just
man,
count your blessings.
that fall shit threw me back when y'all was like, y'all want to do the change the time? I'm like, what time change? Because this shit does not change at all. I'm like,
hey, that's right. Yeah, yours don't. Yeah, that messed me up. 1 and 2.
When you were the Garden of Eden was formed that some kind of way, I mean, shit don't change for you. I mean, everything is just perfect. You know what I'm saying? I here in Montgomery, like, damn, I want to go to work. That's what I keep thinking about. So,
that's just one extra hour to stay in Montgomery.
More suicide watch from here to the end. So I was kind of doing some soul searching and some thinking, and y'all know, man, my parents were, or at least my mother was, like, very super highly, like, very religious. Like, everything sent you to hell. I remember I ate some pistachio ice cream. She's like, that'll send you to hell. We only eat vanilla in this house. You know what I'm saying? That was a lie. That was a joke. But I was thinking about, like, hell in and of itself. Like, and I noticed a lot of people in our generation now don't necessarily, or a lot of people in general don't necessarily believe in it because, and I was trying to examine why. Like, for me, of course, because it was indoctrinated in me, like, from a child, I'm like, okay, that was one of my biggest fears. It was like, I was afraid of my mama, and then I was afraid of going to hell growing up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But as I get older, I look at it and I'm like, wait a minute. Does the concept of hell seem so, like, fantastical or so, like, outrageous to the point where it's like people just don't believe in it? Like, I met other, Christian people who were like, hey, look, I don't believe in hell at all. I think that's just something that was made up to keep people in line, So I wanted to get you guys' viewpoints on that and to see, like, how y'all felt about it or how y'all feel that other people may view hell. Like, because it's crazy. Like, the whole concept, honestly, is spooky and crazy. So that's my question. What do y'all think about? Is the concept of hell just so outrageous that you can't believe in it from a logical mind, or what?
go ahead.
I think it's a couple things, or maybe even a few things. The first thing I would say is, I think, just from our perspective of how we grew up, where we grew up inside the Bible Belt. So that's all we were taught growing up. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's this and that. It's a very traditional type of mindset that's put into you at a very young age. And so I think that the people before us, our mothers, their mothers, fathers, grandfathers, what have you, I think they came from a very traditional background where they were taught not to question what it is.
Right.
So, for example, if they tell you to read the Bible, this is exactly what it should be. So hell is this, and there's no other question. However, fast forward to now, I think because we have so much information around us and access from social media to media outlets, I think it has brought a whole new era, a whole new generation of kids and people that question stuff now. Right. So this whole dynamic of us only believing this just because you said so, well, no, I'm gonna look it up and see what I find, right? Because now I can think for myself. And so I think that is causing a divide between the traditional people and the people of today that now question everything and say, hold on, we talk about this hell. I mean, well, what is it? Because it's not like for sure. You're just going off of faith or blind faith, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But me, I'm working in the sense of reality. This is what I see. This is what I feel, and I don't see a place that, you know, fiery furnace and people screaming and hollering and all of that. I think, and kind of to your point, Mercer, I think we've built we fantasized it so much, and we've built a story around it where it almost seems like unbelievable in a sense.
Yeah. Right.
Like, can you really picture a place like our mothers and some fathers used to talk about?
Right.
I mean, because I even find myself questioning it now. Because is hell a place or is hell a mindset? Is hell more of a spiritual sense, more so than something that's tangible, that you can touch, that you can feel? Is it a state that you go in when you pass? More so than an actual place.
So,
What you think, Fish?
So, question about that. Do you think that is more so with the questioning of like the specifics of hell? Do you think that's something that is prevalent as in, like, kids today, or what? At what point do you think that became a thing that you start questioning hell or the reality of that?
Like I said, I think with the influx of all of the media outlets that we have now, and how easy it is to find information, I think that caused a generation to begin to question not only hell but everything. But specifically talking about hell.
I feel like that was like prevalent, like for us coming up as well. Because I mean, I remember being Are you saying our generation specifically?
That's what I'm saying. Like starting with us,
okay,
and then going forward. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, because I remember me and Merc going to like Sunday school, like giving them the business about everything.
Oh yeah, we used to grill them. Yeah. Oh, we used to go at them. We had a question in what she believed in by the time we left out of Sunday school, and we was like in junior high school. She was like, we was like, why? Yeah. But well, so to take it a step further though, it's like, take it a step back actually, like let's examine hell for a second, like the whole concept of it. So from my understanding, hell is this place. Think about this like this. Think about it like this. Hell is a supernatural place meant as punishment for supernatural creatures, right? And by supernatural creatures, we're talking about demons and Satan, which are called fallen angels. So let's start there. The concept of an angel, this 7 foot tall, gigantic beast thing, and I'm just saying 7 feet because it always is depicted as tall, very powerful, and we're as humans, very weak in comparison to these angels, right? And we talk about Lucifer, who the place was created specifically for him and his followers. He was the song angel. You know, he was the morning star. You know, he was described in all of these various adjectives about how close to God he was, and that, you know, he was made immaculately, and he spoke in music, right? So when you think about that, you know, that's what spooked me out the most as a kid, and even now to a degree, because like I said, for me, even now, I feel like I was like this, and I feel bad for saying this. Me being a guy that tries to pride himself on being an intellectual to some sort of degree, I do follow my faith by blind faith, even when things don't make sense. Yeah. Because I even looked at some things, and not maybe hills per se, but something I just choose not to put too much thought in, because I'm like, oh man, and that maybe make it hypocritical of me to do that. But I find myself, it's like, if I believed in this for so long, I think I would have a mental breakdown if I did not believe it, because it's scary to think outside of that. So you get what I'm saying? Because it's like somebody telling your name ain't your name no more, and you heard it your whole life. Go ahead.
Because like I know both of you guys, and like I've been around like your families, and like I would go to church with both of y'all. But as y'all know, we ain't go to church. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like my family wasn't really into church that much. But I still came up in Montgomery, just like y'all, you know what I'm saying? So I'm still surrounded with, like what Joe said, being in the Bible Belt, and just the normal thought process of that. So for me, I started questioning this stuff, but it made me kind of uncomfortable. It's like the fear of, why would you question that? You're going to go to hell for questioning that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but honestly, I'm going to say to both of y'all, at this point in my life, I do not believe in hell at all, man. I really don't, man. I feel like it's like they try to use fear to try to control you. You know,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
so I just don't believe in that. But it was hard for me to not believe in that based off of like my experience. So I would imagine that somebody who like grew up in the church all their life and they like went through that all of their life, it would be much more difficult for them to like not believe in hell. You know what I'm saying?
What
What do you want to say, Joe?
you know what's crazy though? You know what's crazy? Two things. The first thing is what I want to touch on is I think we're addressing a human flaw that our race has. What I mean by that is we kind of what you said, Mercer. You know, we have when we're taught a certain thing for so long, it's almost innate in most of us to follow that blindly, and anything outside of that is uncomfortable. And as humans, we have to make sense of everything around us, or try to. So when we create this heaven, we create this hell, we have to be as specific as possible because it has to be somewhat tangible to us. Like we have to be able to see it because anything outside of that makes us uncomfortable. And then on the other end of that, to kind of touch what you said, Face, what's crazy is as I grew up, and especially the point I am in my life right now, the more I questioned my faith and the existence of everything around me, the more spiritually free I became, which is kind of odd given the traditional type of teaching that I had. But once I was able to disconnect from that and begin to think on my own, because I actually think that's what the Creator intended, is us to think, to question stuff. Don't follow anything blindly. It's important that we question everything, because only when we question everything will we become or try to get closer to the truth. And I think that's an important thing to do, is we have to question it. But it's difficult, like you said, Mercer. It's hard because we were taught it for so long. I mean, we're talking, 20 plus years.
Yeah, it's indoctrinated. Like so, especially Alabama in the South, we are the belt buckle of the Bible Belt. We're not just on the Bible Belt; it's the belt buckle, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, churches become a business. You got a church every block with preachers that, like, don't live according to what they preach. A lot of the times, not all of them, but a large majority of it. It's a business now. And I guess for me, I'm the type of guy. See, I've come to the point where I question everything but my faith. Yeah. Like, I question everything else. I choose not to because I'm like, all right, I don't want to overthink myself or get too analytical. Like, I question everything about life but that, because I'm the type of person, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to believe this portion, then I'm going to believe the whole thing. Because I'm not intelligent enough to pick and choose pieces of it that I want to believe in. I'm all or nothing. Like, I'm like, if I'm going to believe in this, I'm going to believe in this all the way. And if I'm not going to believe in it, I'm not going to believe in it at all. Because I don't want to contradict myself in my mind. Because I guess what's a struggle for me, for most people, is people believe in God, but they won't believe in a God that punishes, quote unquote. So it's like, all right, I believe in God exists.
Yeah.
But there's no rules. Like, it's like, all right, I can do whatever the hell I want to do, and there's no punishment for that. And I'm like, well, wait, maybe it is, or maybe it's not. Or what is that punishment? Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I start thinking like that, then I'm like, wait a minute. So either I got to believe all the way, or I don't need to believe at all, because this is, like, it's like if hell is real and I'm going to go to hell, then I'm going to go to hell in a limousine. I'm not going to go to hell driving a Winnebago. You feel me? Like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this all the way. I'm going to be committed. So, because I had a conversation with a guy, and he grew up Catholic, and he was like, man, I grew up believing in God, church, and all that stuff. And he said, I got older, and he said, I just completely just said, to hell with that. So he's like, because I don't believe it's real. And I said, well, how I feel about it is, I said, well, listen, man, I said, I'm not perfect. I question things as well. However, if I believe in hell and hell is not real, then no foul. I just spent my life believing in whatever. But if I don't believe in it is real, then I'm fucked up.
Well,
Was that?
well, what I wouldn't go that far because as long as you live, what were you saying?
I
Face?
hear what you're gonna say. I would go that far though, but I definitely want to hear what.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far because I feel because what you're saying is believing in the actual place of hell.
Right.
But I think as long as you're living in congruence with the spiritual laws, I think that you're still fine because
I got a question then, real quick, just to interject. So here's why they're both one and the same. Let's say hell is a frame of mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not a physical place, quote unquote.
Yeah.
If a person that's schizophrenic and sees other beings and have conversations, we've all seen people talk to somebody who's not there from our view. It's no less real to them. You get what I'm saying? Whether it's a frame of mind or a real place, actually being in hell in your mind, in the physical sense, is worse because you question your sanity. Your whole reality is changed.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not. So hell in the physical sense and hell in your mind is the same thing. It's just the type of pain or the type of suffering you endure. So if I see a bunch of spiders on me and I'm freaking out, and you guys are like, there's no spiders on you, that doesn't make it any less real for me. Because in my mind, it's real. You know what I'm saying? So hell in that sense is real in both aspects, is it not?
Well, it depends. Well, what type of what I'm trying to get at is, so are we talking about not believing in hell in the in a
You're talking about the traditional sense.
Yeah.
You're talking specifically a traditional sense
We're just talking about the traditional sense.
From a Christianic standpoint.
Yeah.
See, that's kind of where I fault a little bit is because, so if we're saying that, well, let me ask you this: are you saying that if you don't believe in that type of hell, in that specific hell, you're wrong? I'm just asking a question.
I'm not saying anybody's wrong or right. I'm just because everybody. I mean, none of us know.
Nobody knows.
You know what I'm saying? It's like interpretation. I wouldn't say anybody was wrong. I guess my initial question was whether whatever side of the fence you're on is the reason why it's shaky for both sides, because it just seems like too unrealistic of a place. Like it just seemed too crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? It seemed like somebody made it up and was like, hey man, you don't cut your grass or you don't pray 3 times a day. This is where your ass going. And it's like, bro, that don't even what in the hell? But what's funny is, go ahead, my bad.
No, I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. So for someone not to believe in that specifically, but believe in a higher power, believe in a creator, I think you can do both of them. Yeah, because
I don't think so. I don't think so.
You definitely can. It's many forms, and it's different religions, man. You definitely can. Like even like Jehovah's Witness, like they don't believe in hell, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I think they don't believe in hell, but they do believe in God. You know,
we have to be careful because, as Face was saying, there's so many different types of religions, and we get in very shaky water when we try to not saying you are, Mercer, but I'm just saying generally speaking. I think we get into shaky water when we try to make a certain religion superior to other religions.
Well, here's the thing, though, Joe. Because whatever.
Say what?
Doing that is a natural thing. Because whatever you were taught, you're gonna believe, and you're gonna defend that, like with your all. You know what I'm saying? As long as you believe in it, you're gonna be biased to that. Unless the only way.
But I wouldn't say superior though. Nobody believes it's superior. I wouldn't say that.
Religion. As a whole, I think religions feel they're superior to others. I think
the people do, not the religion in of itself. I think
religion was made by people.
Yeah,
that's not true. That depends on what you believe in. That
Religion was made by people.
That's not true. So in the Christian sense, dude, I'm speaking on Christian sense because it's all I've studied.
Yeah.
The word of God. The word of God was given to a man by a higher power. So a man didn't create that. A higher power gave rules. That's not man-made creation. That's what even Islam. Islam is a man who wrote stuff down that he heard from a higher power. So technically, it cannot be created by man, or else you wouldn't follow it.
You want to know why? You want to know why?
Why what?
You don't want to know why it's man-made?
Go ahead. Why?
Because all of it is interpretation.
But still, that don't. I mean, that's
that makes it. I'm saying that makes it human made by being interpreted differently.
That's not true though.
Like
this is
like right now,
though, just because we're talking about like the top two conversations that are tough for people to have are politics and religion. But let's continue.
Because let me tell you this, Merc. Let me tell you this.
All right.
So you just said that someone wrote the Bible based off of God's words, correct?
Yes.
So you're automatically saying that Christianity is the way to go, like no other religion is correct.
True. No, because Islam came from the same. It's the same source. Any mainstream major religion, if you talk to every single religious leader, they got their words that they live by, their code or whatever you want to call it, from a higher power.
But they interpret it differently.
Well, Christian has different kind of denominations now. Yeah, everybody interprets. We can read the same Bible verse and get two different meanings from that.
So it's human made. So if you interpret it different, and I write my book,
your mind work different from my mind. That's all I mean.
So that means that means I've made this interpretation and I called it this
in your mind. But that doesn't mean that's in the literal sense. We just we have different viewpoints. So that's all that means.
So what is the right way to take it? So say you read something, or me and you both read something, and then you take it one way and I take it another way. How could we decide like the proper way that it was intended to be received?
Well, let me redirect your question. That's a good question. So based on that, should we even listen to a pastor or go to any type of church? Based on that.
Based on that, no.
Based on that.
Based on that, no.
But that goes back to, you know what, and I guess that's what Joe was saying. That goes back to the whole point of the conversation then. Based on those flaws, the pastor's interpretation, especially with the pastor not living right, hell seeming fantastic and all that kind of stuff, should people believe in religion at all then?
I mean, honestly,
you want to answer that first?
I'm gonna give it it's not a black or white answer, but I'm gonna do my black or white answer. No, it shouldn't. Based off of everything we talked about, no. People believe in what they believe in based off of what they've been exposed to. I mean,
for what though? Why not let it go?
Well, I got a black or white answer.
Go ahead.
No, absolutely not.
So
we should not believe in religion. Absolutely not.
I'm not necessarily okay. When you say religion, I'm talking about specifically. Let me specify. I'm not saying believe in the idea of going to the church sanctuary, that in and of itself. I mean, should somebody really read a biblical text or Islamic text or whatever you want to believe in and follow that as a guideline to life?
For that, I would say it depends. For me, man, this is something I think about. I think that's good if it works for the person. If it makes them feel better in their life, then yes. I mean, that's the best answer I could give, man. It's different for each person. Like there are some people who actually read the Bible and they follow all the commandments, and it makes them a better person, and it helps them feel good in life. But there are some people who I meet like that who are out of their fucking mind. You know, I don't think they should do it. So I think it depends on the person.
I know who you talking about. I know who you talking about. I know exactly who you talking about.
So it really depends on the person, to me.
I mean, just the reason why I say I don't think we should follow one specific religion is because I think all of us have something to bring to the table. Me personally, I read a lot of different biblical texts because everybody has a different point of view, and that allows me to come to a sort of answer in my own sense, because I'm getting different perspectives from different people that have experienced stuff from different parts of the world, and it allows me to come to my truth.
Right.
So I don't think we should blindly follow one specific religion, because to do that, you're negating everything else other people are teaching.
So I got a question, then. We'll go ahead.
But I mean, for Joe to say that though, I feel him, but I think it's because you've had more perspective. Like, you've been different places and you've been exposed to more things, so you're able to have that perspective. Take somebody who's like from where we're from, and they haven't traveled like you. They've only heard what they heard. They can't even fathom what you just said. Just you know what I mean?
I'm not calling anybody. I'm not faulting anybody.
I'm not either.
I'm not saying somebody say what.
That would just be their reality. Like, they wouldn't know anything but
that.
Yeah, exactly.
They wouldn't know anything but that until they're exposed to it. So by me saying this, by people viewing this podcast, maybe it'll spark something in them, because I'm not faulting them for only being in their surroundings, because we came from the same place. There was a point in time where I was in that same position, and it took me getting out, seeing different parts of the world.
Ideally, that's true. Ideally,
you sound like an elitist.
Ideally, that's true, bro.
He does. You sound like you're better because you're not traveled. You're not as educated as I am and exposed, so that you can come to the light that I've come to. People will interpret it like that. I'm not saying that's what you're saying.
I mean, they can interpret it like that, but that's not what it is.
That someone doesn't agree with, they're gonna get defensive. So whatever logical point you make beyond that, they're gonna beat it down with whatever logical point they have in their mind. It's just gonna be like a vicious cycle right there, man.
So go ahead, Joe. My bad.
I don't know if you're giving humans enough credit, because for majority, maybe speaking from a majority standpoint, yeah, that may be the case. But on the other hand, there may be people that are open-minded, that want to seek different things and are looking for that outlet. So for us to just shoot down and say, well, yeah, people, as soon as people hear this, they're gonna get defensive. That may be the case. But our goal as humans should not be to only reach the masses initially, but to reach the individual, to hope that it grows to the masses. So if one person hears this and says, man, okay, I feel what he's saying. Because I was the same way. I had to hear from somewhere. And I was like, dang, okay, you know what? They may be on to something. Let me try this out for myself.
Here's the irony in all of this, which that makes sense. The irony in this is, and you know, it's funny in the Judeo-Christian sense. What's funny is if you look at the book of Genesis, the first book, and what separated man from God, it was knowledge, right? So when Eve and Adam ate the apple and they knew too much and they understood good and evil and things of that nature, then they separated. So it's like a what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like foretelling the separation. So basically, a closed-minded person or a very religious person can say, hey, actually, the more knowledge you gain and the smarter you become, it's like Solomon in the Bible. The smarter you become, the more separated from the higher power, the more separated from God you become. Because the more stuff you're exposed to, the more stuff you see, the harder it is for you to actually believe by faith something that you've never seen before.
That's true.
So it's like the more educated you become, the more separated from a religion you would be. So it's like a double-edged sword. So it could indeed be real, but because you gain so much knowledge, you've outthought yourself out of your religion, out of your faith.
That's true.
That's in the first book. It's like the irony of it.
I can say that. I mean, that's happened in my life. Like you said, the more you learn, then it's like, I don't know if this really fits me, you know. But I think but what I think about with that is like, man, this shit is fear-based. Like, they want you to stay ignorant, man, out of fear. And that shit is strong, too, you know what I'm saying?
But you know what? It's not the religion. It's not the faith that does it. The text. It's the people that teach the text. Because in the Bible, it says God has not given us the spirit of fear, but the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. 3 things that we all would like to have: power, love, and a sound mind. But the pastor, when they teach that doom, fire, brimstone preaching, they try to scare me up out your pocket. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you said, should we even go to a church at all? Or should we just read this text on our own and come to our own understanding, even though it's all different and interpreted differently?
I think it works differently for different people. Some people need that community to where it will allow them to grow, but then there's others that worked better and more efficiently individually. See, I think for me personally speaking, it's better the approach is better for me if I read it for myself first, digest it, come to my own conclusions, and have whatever questions I have, and then talk about it with other people. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a church, a physical church, but just some type of group, some type of community. Even just us 3 talking about it. Just that type of community where we're bouncing ideas and beliefs off of each other, because that helps me. So I think it's specific for each individual. Some people do need that to go to a specific church, sit down, look at a pastor, listen to them, and then dissect it on their own. But then others don't need. I think at the end of the day, whatever approach you take, I think it is our responsibility, though, to get closer to that truth and get closer in our spirituality. So, like I said, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Islam, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Hinduism, getting closer to that truth is the number one priority for all of us. Right. So we have to be educating ourselves in some sense.
All right, Merc, did you want to add anything to that before we wrap this topic up?
So to wrap this up for the viewers, what we have is the believer, the non-believer, and the all-believer over here. The 3. I'm joking. Believer, the non-believer, and the all-believer.
Man, that's a good conversation, man. I'm not an atheist,
I'm joking.
But let's keep
I'm joking, man. I'm glad it was just interesting. I think the whole conversation started because I remember I texted you guys about these cults that keep popping up, and it's crazy, man. Some of these cults are crazy, but anyway, that was the whole point of that conversation. I think that cult was called Nexium or something like that.
Yeah. So it's a lot. But yeah, for anybody that's watching, man, we just want some dialogue. We want, whatever you have to say, whatever you have to talk about, whoever side you take, it doesn't matter. It's just about creating that dialogue and talking as a community. If you disagree with me, that's fine. If you disagree with Faith, if you disagree with Mercer, it's all good. At the end of the day, it's just about us getting closer to the answer than we were before. That's it.
Please be open-minded. Don't quote a bunch of Bible scriptures. And we can read. We know what the Bible says. We can read it. It's just, I guess we're talking about this just from a real life human sense. Like, man, it's okay to have questions.
It's cool.
It's humans.
It's all good, baby.
Yeah, absolutely.